Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, Darrell Owens, and this is another edition of 101 here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network. And of course, airing on the amazing Bowie TV. We have entered, ladies and gentlemen, week 11 of the NFL season. And oh man, it happened so fast. But we say that every week. But it's the truth. You start enjoying football, and football slowly but surely just ends, and then the next thing you know, you're in full swing of basketball season, which is cranking up as we speak. College basketball is starting to crank up. Your boy did his first women's college basketball game in the season for ESPN Plus. That was a couple days ago, about a week or so ago. That was cool. Got another one coming up in a couple weeks. You're getting into the full swing of things right now. But let's talk some NFL football. Tonight we got the Patriots hosting the New York Football Jets, who are looking to get another win. They win last week against the Cleveland Browns, and yes, the Cleveland Browns are the Cleveland Browns. We understand that completely. But with that doesn't really make a difference. A win is a win in the NFL, and when you're playing against professionals, you get a dub. The Jets are trying to salvage their season, all right? They got a lot of draft picks from the Sauce Gardner trade, so there's a lot that they've got to try to, figure out. The Quinn Wins trade, they got a lot of draft capital for the next 2 years. But they still want to make positive strides out of this season. No Garrett Wilson. He's out the next 3 to 4 weeks. The Patriots are cooking right now. The Patriots have won, I believe, 7 straight games. They're on a roll. So that's a big game tonight. But we got a lot to get into. We got to talk outside looking in, the bottom, the top 10, of course. And then we got to get into the finale and who was the king of the gridiron for this week. So let's go ahead and get into all that now. Episode 189 or 101 begins now.
One. Welcome to the 101. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to the 101. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to 101 at Legacy Maker Sports Network.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 189 of 1-on-1. 11 away from the 200 episode, which we will hit during this season 6 of 1-on-1. Probably hit it around the playoff time, maybe closer to Super Bowl, something in that mist, but it will be during the playoffs. But very excited to be with you guys today to get you updated on the on my power rankings and kind of where teams stand. The power rankings that you can only beat the team that's put in front of you power rankings. That's what I'm going to start calling them, because that's pretty much what they are. You can only beat the team that's put in front of you, and what how you handle that from there. So there's a lot to kind of get into with that, but let's figure out, where people stand. Will the Broncos be number one for a second straight week? The Colts and the Patriots are on their heels. The Colts were the number one team for 2 straight weeks themselves. The Patriots, maybe they sneak into a number one spot this week. I will get into all that. I just want to know how it all plays out, but we shall see. And tonight the Patriots take on the Jets in Foxborough. The first of 2 meetings. If you're the Jets, you want to get a dub. Obviously, you want to continue to grow. You want to continue to figure things out on a season where they thought things could have been better, including your boy. I thought they would be a better football team at times, and it just didn't happen. So now we're going to figure out what exactly will this team, do tonight. Can they, knock off a really good division opponent and put us in a little bit of a tailspin as we head into week 12 and so on and so on? But we shall see. We shall see. With that being said, let's go ahead and get started with the other way you can get started with 101, the power rankings with the bottom. All right. So the bottom for this week, let's look at it. At number 32, the Tennessee Titans. Now, look, the Titans didn't even play this week, so they had 32 by default. they had 32 by default. Maybe if the Saints had lost this past week, and maybe the Saints would have overtaken them, but the Titans team is bad. I would say the Saints were the worst team in the NFL for most of the season. I was saying that leading up to it. This Titans team is worse, and it's a close race between these two teams on how bad they are. But it is just appalling at times how bad the Tennessee Titans have been this year. They just don't have talent. Let me say this professionally. Obviously, we're all professionals. They don't have enough talent around to really take it to the next level. They're just not there yet. So the Titans are at number 32. At 31, the New Orleans Saints. They actually got a dub last week. Now, you're probably saying, well, Darrell, you got the Giants above the Saints. The Saints did beat the Giants, but my reasoning behind putting the Giants above the Saints is because even with New Orleans getting the second win, I feel like the Giants could easily be, I don't know, say about the Giants could probably be about 500 right now. So they could probably be 5-5. They could even be higher than that. They lost a couple of tough ones. They had Denver on the ropes, was beating on Denver. There's a couple teams in a couple games where they had their number. Like they really did a number on teams, and for them to not have more wins, it's kind of disheartening because I really thought that they would be further along than where they are, and they're just not. That's maybe on me for having wishful thinking for this team, but when you look at some of the games that they lost, that they had shots in, the Giants game was, the Broncos game was tough. They had the lead in the Bears game, gave that away. Really didn't have a chance against the Eagles the second time around. They were, they beat the Eagles, which is, they lose to the Saints. They beat the Chargers, and it's crazy because their two wins are against the Chargers and the Eagles, two of the best teams in football. And so, and you look at it, they should have beat the Cowboys. So this is just me trying to figure it out. Should have beat the Cowboys. They were hanging in with the Chiefs, didn't give it away. So they beat the Chargers. They probably should have beat the Saints. They beat the Eagles, so that's 4 wins. They should have beat the Broncos. That's 5. The Bears game should have been a win. So this team should be 6-4. They should be 6-4. They're just not. So that's just me wishful thinking there. But that's my rant on the Giants. They got the Packers this week, which still a game they'll probably win. They'll probably beat the Packers because the Packers offense is atrocious at the moment. They don't know what they got going on. Matt LaFleur play calling miserable. Jordan Love did not look good last week. Defense looks phenomenal. Masterpiece. Jeff Hafley, you got the defense looking amazing. So shout out to you, sir, for all the greatness that you're doing with that Packers defense. Offense, not even trying to help y'all guys win games. And it's sad. With that being said, Jameis Winston will be starting this week for the New York Football Giants. So that's a cool deal. So 32, Titans, 31, Saints, 30, New York Football Giants. The Saints are a team that they don't have a real QB, in my opinion. Tyler Shaw, shout out for him getting a win, but it's just not good. Kamara's injured or been nicked up, and he hasn't really played his best football, but it's hard when your team is like this. Anyway. So at 29, the Browns. The Browns lost to number 2017 on this power ranking, the Jets. It's time, Browns, at least give Shador at least 2 games. I mean, you got to see what the guys got, right? They got an ugly schedule. Like, they may not win another game this season. That's how bad the Browns are, at least offensively. Defensively, they still got some really good pieces on that team, including Myles Garrett. It's just not good, as a complete unit. One of those wins are against the Packers. This bothers me dearly. The teams that the Packers should beat. I'm sorry, I'm talking about the Packers a little bit more, but you guys know I'm a Packers enthusiast. I just don't understand the teams you should beat, you just don't beat. You have losses to the Browns, the Panthers, and the Eagles. Eagles understandable, but the Browns and the Panthers, God, you know, they should maybe have 2 losses this year if you count the Dallas game. Maybe have 2 losses if you count that game. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. It's really disheartening. Anyway, Browns are at 29. Give Shador a shot. It's time. I don't know why we're taking so long. It's time to do it. So make it happen, Browns. Come on, Kevin Stefanski. I know you know you're probably looking for a new job at the end of this year the way this thing is going, but come on. Whatever. At 28, the Vegas Raiders. The Raiders have not been they haven't been good either. So it's been really bad here at the bottom. They had a really good matchup against the Broncos for them. You know, they in the mix, a 10-7 victory for the Broncos, but they had chances. Couldn't do it. The Raiders are just not good. Another team that probably should have drafted Shador, but I'm going to let that one fly too. You got Kenny Pickett out there, and they don't have enough confidence to even give him a shot with the way that Geno's play has been lately. So I don't know. I don't know. Raiders at 28. Jets got their win last week against the Browns, which thank you for actually winning the game that I picked you to win. I appreciate that, New York Football Jets. It's still not pretty, you know, like the Jets are obviously going to be looking for a quarterback. You know, I mean, the numbers by Justin Fields is crazy. 6 for 11, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 54 yards passing. What in the world? I don't. Yeah, they got to get a quarterback. I still suggest if you're the Jets, if you don't fall in love with one of the quarterbacks in this draft coming up, don't draft the quarterback. Don't feel obligated to draft the quarterback if you don't fall in love with one of them. I would say go get you a vet, a solid vet, you know, somebody who can help really truly guide this young team, you know, this young bunch. I don't know who that guy's going to be, but if you don't feel comfortable with the guy QB or drafting the QB, don't do that. Go get you a solid vet. If you got a chance at a superstar, go do that. But go get you you know, chance at a solid vet. I don't know, man. The Jets are cursed. It's unfortunate, but they did get a win last week, so shout out to them. At 26, the Washington Commanders. Whew. You talking about hard football to watch? It's been rough. The Commanders lost their 4th straight game. They let their last win was against the Chargers, a team that is 7-3 now, a team that they played well against and shut the Chargers down. The Chargers have had their moments this year though, because they did lose to the Giants too. So, but when I look at the Washington team, tough schedule. You know, don't get me wrong. The Bears, who are obviously right now 6-3 and are in the playoffs currently. They lost to the Cowboys, who, but they made the Cowboys look like world beaters. They lost to the Chiefs, you know, Patrick Mahomes, and then you lose to the Seahawks, you know, get it right, and then you lose to the Lions. So 5 straight losses. Excuse me, I was being nice by saying 4. 5 straight losses for this team down there in Madrid. You know, my partner in crime on Bowie Television, Candy Waller, aka Senora Presidenta, is over there at in Madrid representing the Bowie TV brand. And man, it's you know, she's going to represent well for us, but you know, it could be a tough football game because they take on the number 25 team in this power ranking, the Miami Dolphins, who have won a couple games, you know, here in the last couple weeks. So I don't want to completely trash the Dolphins. You know, they're 3-7. I had them going 5-12 on the season, but they did get a win against the Bills, which is a big one. Like they beat the Bills by 17 points. This is crazy. They lose to the Ravens, and then they beat the Falcons 34-10, lost to the Browns 31-6. This football team is all over the map. I don't understand what's happening in the league this year. Some of these lower end teams beating some of the teams they probably shouldn't beat. It's happened quite a bit this year. Green Bay's been a recipient. I'm gonna stop talking about Green Bay. I'm sorry, y'all. But they've been a recipient of it. Like it's been really weird. But Commanders at 26 and it's well deserved. The Dolphins are at 25 and it's well deserved. It's been ugly at times. At 24, the Cardinals, led by Jacoby Brissett, finally gets named the starter, and they're going to go with him instead of, Kyler Murray, who's still kind of nicked up. And the first opportunity they get 44-22 by the Seahawks. The Seahawks are good. So there's no ifs, ands, or buts about this. So you can't feel bad about getting beat up by the Seahawks. The Seahawks are really good. They were the number one seed for like an hour or for a week or something like that. And it was well deserved, man. I mean, Mike McDonald has this team looking phenomenal. The defense is playing well. Sam Darnold looks like he should have never been traded from the Vikings, or never. The Vikings should have never let him loose. But I've said that already. I'm not going to go too deep in that. Cardinals are at 24. At 23, the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons, I don't know what to say about this team. They have great talent at each of the skill positions. Penix, who I still think may have gotten pulled too early to start, is what it is. Their whole situation feels like it's been mishandled with him and Kirk Cousins. I don't know how to really put it together. It feels like it's been mishandled. You got two good running backs in Algier and of course, Bijan Robinson. Then your receiving core, you have London, McLeod, Mooney, got solid receiving core. You got Kyle Pitts, we've been waiting for 4 years for this man to just really go crazy. And I feel like with who's been calling plays or whatever, and I think this is why he gets a pass, because people see and think that he could be really good. And he's just with the wrong team. Trade this man or let him go in the offseason. It's insane. It's insane. I know I'm taking a long time on the bottom for y'all. These bottom teams are really really blow my mind. At 22, the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals could be getting Joe Burrow back, y'all. They were on a bye last week, so they didn't have to worry about too much. But this Cincinnati team is excited to see what they've got in store with Joey B come back. And they're still in that division. They're only 2 games out in that division because the Steelers don't want to give the division away. And the Ravens are creeping back up. They're looking to take it, back from the Steelers. I don't know. But the Bengals could get Joey B back soon. We'll see what happens there. Cowboys also on a bye. Sad, from the death that happened, right after Monday Night Football last week. I mean, it's still kind of sad on how everything just kind of transpired. If the Marshawn Keelan situation is insane, and you hate that it happened. And our prayers go out to his family, his friends, loved ones. It's craziness. But the Cowboys are on a bye this week. They're at 21. So here it is. We're done talking about the bottom because it's frustrating me. The Titans, the Saints, the Giants, the Browns, the Raiders, the Jets, the Commanders, Dolphins, Cardinals, Falcons, Bengals, Cowboys. Ladies and gentlemen, rounding out the bottom this week. I don't know why the bottom bothered me so much this week, but it did. It's frustrating. Maybe because I'm watching the Commanders every week. And I'm at these games every week, and they have given the fans and media alike pretty much nothing to smile about with their play. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. I said, Senora Presidenta. Here for Bowie TV, Candy Wall is in Madrid right now. I would have loved to go out there, take in some things, but she's going to rock it and roll it for Bowie TV. And I'm going to still be doing some good work, behind the scenes for the station, but also just a chance to kind of rest up and get ready for the final push of the season. The Commanders on our bye next week, so we'll see how that all goes. Now, with that being said, let's go into the outside looking in and see which teams are knocking on the door of the top 10. All right, ladies and gentlemen, outside looking in. At number 20, the Vikings. Vikings lose a tough one to the Ravens 27-19. This game was weird because I felt like there were times where it looked like Minnesota either was going to find a way to come back. They had the lead at the half. They were up 10-9. The Ravens scored 10 points in the third. And then the Vikings kind of had to kind of crawl their way back. So it was really weird overall, but they were trying their best to figure it out. McCarthy it's still a progress right now. The guy's only, this is like his fourth game as a starter. 20 for 42, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. He led the team in rushing with 5 carries and 48 yards. Your leading receiver was Jalen Naylor with 5 receptions, 124 yards. Not the guys that you would think would be at the top, of your category, certain categories. But I say whatever. But the Vikings, 4-5, I still think the Vikings are a team that you can't just walk over, and you have to be very careful about. But it's all dependent on quarterback play. At 19, the team that they beat, the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are crawling back. This team was 1-5, and they were looking pretty bad. They're 1-5, but they have been on a roll the last couple of weeks, 3 straight wins. They beat the Ravens without Lamar Jackson. They beat the Dolphins on the way back with Lamar Jackson, and then they beat the Vikings. They got the Browns this week, and if all lines up, the Ravens will be 6-5 before they take on, because they got the Jets the week after this. They'll be 6-5 heading into the Bengals game. So things are starting to line up. Things are really starting to line up for this team. And that's something that we kind of have to see how that, plays out. But they're starting to line up. Then they got the Steelers. Then they got the Bengals again. Then they got the Patriots. That's going to be a really good one on December 21st. Patriots and Ravens should be a really good game. Then they got the Packers in Green Bay, and then they got the Steelers in Baltimore to round out the season. Look, they can win this division, so watch out. At 18, the Houston Texans. Now, the Houston Texans are a little bit different. I don't think they can win the division, but they still can fight for a playoff spot. But they're going to have to really crank it up. The Jaguars barely are hanging on to the 7th seed in the AFC. They're only a game out. So if they can figure it out, they beat them. So it's a half a game out, to be honest with you. So the Texans are starting to kick it up a little bit, but they are a team also that's been, dealing with injuries here and there. But the Texans are in the mix. They're in the mix. At 17, the Carolina Panthers, another team that's surprisingly in the mix. A lot of people didn't see Carolina, competing at the level they have. They're 5-5. They've kind of found a little bit of an identity. Dave Canales looks like he's got this team on the right foot with a lot of young players. So they're figuring it out. I like this Carolina team. Heck, they beat Green Bay last week. It wasn't pretty, but they did it. They lose a tough one to the Saints. You can't lose the one to the Saints. Like, this team should be 6-4 right now. And we should be talking completely different about the Panthers. But this is where I said they're young. They're still trying to figure out. And, they will. I think Dave Canales and Bryce Young will figure it out. But these are also the things we say about Green Bay. All right, Darrell, stop talking about Green Bay. Stop it. At 16, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Speaking of Green Bay, former quarterback for the Packers, Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers could not get it done on Sunday. Just could not get it done on Sunday against the Chargers. It was ugly. Chargers up like 22-3 at one point, and it wasn't a pretty game in the beginning, but they pretty much handled things and did what they needed to do to get the dub. So the Chargers are doing the Chargers things, and I don't know what Pittsburgh is doing, because Pittsburgh does not want to win this division. They were, I believe, 4-1, and now they're winning out of their last. They've won 1 out of their last 4. 1 of the last 4. So they're 1-3 in the last couple games. I don't know what's going on, but they better figure it out because the Baltimore Ravens are coming. At 15, the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs were on a bye this week. After their loss to the Bills last week, so they'll be ready to re-energize and ready to make their playoff run. At 14, the Jacksonville Jaguars, who probably they had a win in their hands against the Texans, gave it away. I'm still trying to figure out. Jacksonville's another team I'm trying to figure out. I did pick them to go to the playoffs, but they're a team I'm still trying to figure out. They're at 14. At 13, the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers, tough loss to the Rams. The Rams are a really good football team. So, and the 49ers, if healthy, this could have been a different game. And that's still no excuse because, hey, the 49ers have been really good overall. This season they were 6-3. They were at 1.4-1. Like, with all the injuries, they still have hung in there. They're in the playoff mix. They're at the 8th seed right now, but they're in the playoff mix. At 12, the Green Bay Packers. I've talked about them enough on it. They don't even deserve to be 12. They don't. You better be lucky, Green Bay. Your record is what it is. But they should easily probably be 5-4. Because that Cowboys game was a disaster. They were up and nope, not going to talk about it. Let's talk about a better team in the NFC North, the Chicago Bears. Yes, that's right. I said it. The Chicago Bears playing good football right now. It hasn't been the cutest per se, but they're finding a way to win games. And, they are having the reverse fortune that they had last year after playing the Commanders. And this time around, they have been able to refigure things out. Since that, since they lost to the Lions, they've beat the Cowboys, they beat the Raiders, they beat the Commanders, they beat the Saints, they lost to the Ravens, a tough one. They beat the Bengals in that crazy game last week or the week before last, and then they beat the Giants. They got the Vikings this week, which should be and could be another win. Well, we shall see. But shout out to the Chicago Bears. They're knocking on the top 10's door. And currently, if the playoffs started today, guess what? They would be in. All right. Outside looking in, week 11, Vikings, Ravens, Texans, Panthers, Steelers, Chiefs, Jags, 49ers, Packers, and at number 11, knocking on the door of the top 10, the Chicago Bears. Hey, man. Shout out to Caleb Williams. Shout out to Ben Johnson. They're figuring things out. It ain't pretty at times, but they are winning the games, and that's all that matters. They're winning the games. I ain't gonna get upset. We're not even gonna talk about it. Let's go to the top 10. Let's find out who's in the top 10. That's ridiculous. Top 10, top 10, top 10. Heading into week 11. At number 10, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay, a tough loss against the Patriots, but the Patriots are a good football team. The Patriots are a good football team. And I picked the Bucs to win the game, but the Patriots are the complete package right now. And that's a really good win for the Patriots because they are still looking for wins against, to me, really good football teams. They got one against the Bills, who are number 9. And then they get this one against the Bucs. They probably should have beat the Steelers, but they're not really a good football team, in my opinion. But that's besides the point. So, shout out to the Patriots. Much love. They're number 2 this week. Not quite number 1, but number 2 this week. The Bucs are 10 this week, and they got a really good matchup against the Lions coming up. No. They don't play the Lions this week. No, they play Buffalo this week. I take it back. So they play Buffalo this week. That should be fun. At number 9, the Buffalo Bills, a team that also lost this past week and lost to the Dolphins. What are we doing? This is what I've been talking about. Like, the teams that just shouldn't win games or certain games that on paper, they just said, no, I'll hold my beer. And the Bills losing this game 30-13 there's a lot of things going on in Buffalo they got to try to figure out. You're 6-3, still in good shape, but what is this? At number 8, the Detroit Lions, an impressive 44-22 victory over the Commanders. It was cool to see the Lions in person healthy this time around, and they look pretty dominant. Jared Goff chants at Northwest Stadium. It was a very eventful day. We saw a couple fights break out. Deron Payne got suspended because Amon-Ra St. Brown punched him. Well, it was like a Deron Payne push, Amon-Ra St. Brown push, then punch. Then after the punch, Deron punched him. Deron gets ejected. Kinlaw goes kookanutty. Jordan McGee has to hold Kinlaw back. Quan Martin got in the face of the game. It was an insane game. President Trump was there. Air Force One flew over the stadium. Then Marine One came back through, and they flew on top of the stadium. Then on top of all of that, St. Brown then goes and does the Trump dance, and then he gets ridiculed for that. And he has to apologize for that. Then on top of that, he was selling I think he's selling some type of insurance that looks like it could be, and I'm like I said, I'm trying not to make this too political, but it was just a crazy week. And then that kind of favored, President Trump. And so people are like, ugh, like what's going on here? Not all people, some people didn't care, but some people did. It's just been a wild week for the Lions, but nevertheless, they got the dub. They're 6-3. At 7, the San Diego Chargers, aka the LA Chargers. Nice win for the Chargers over the Steelers, 25-10. The Chargers are quietly, figuring things back out again. They're second place in the AFC West with only one team in front of them, and that's the Denver Broncos. At number 6, the Philadelphia Eagles was not a pretty win against Green Bay, but a win is a win. It was a defensive battle, two defenses just snuffing out two good offenses when they want to be good. Let's just put it that way. When they want to be good. So shout out to the Eagles. They get the win. They move to 7-2. They're currently the number 1 seed in the NFC. Personally, I don't see it that way, but on the paper, they are the number 1 seed in the NFC. At 5, the team that, based off of this, would be the number 2 seed in my book, the Seattle Seahawks. And what Sam Darnold and that team has done has just been amazing. And Mike McDonald's a masterpiece right now. That 44-22 beatdown of the Cardinals, right up their alley. We got a good game this week between the Seahawks and the Rams. I knew it was coming at some point, and it's here, y'all. It's here. The Rams are the number 4 team on the countdown this week. They got a nice win themselves this past week against the 49ers. So these two teams who have beaten their other division foes will face off this week to see who's going to take a little step ahead of the other. At number 3, the Indianapolis Colts. I thought about putting them back at number 1, but it was a little bit of a struggle against the Falcons. And I have a belief that if you are the number 1 the week before and you get the dub, you stay number 1 until it's just not worth you being number 1. And they've worked hard. The Broncos, I got them at number 1 this week. They deserve every bit of being number 1, even with as ugly of a game it was against the Raiders. It's a division game. Those things happen. So there it is. And of course, the Patriots are at 2. Top 10: Bucks, Bills, Lions, Chargers, Eagles, Seahawks, Rams, Colts, Patriots, and number 1 for the second straight week, the Denver Broncos. Well, ladies and gentlemen, top 10 locked and loaded. Power rankings locked and loaded. Now let's finish it up with the finale and find out who was your king of the gridiron. Where's the top 5 MVP? Who is where in the playoffs if they started today? Your boys' record, and of course, tonight's score and our picks for the rest of the weekend. Let's get it for the finale. All right, here we are. Our kings of the gridiron for week number 10. On the offensive side of things, in my opinion, and we'll get to this in the next segment, but he is currently my MVP, Jonathan Taylor. 32 attempts, 244 yards, 7.6 yards per carry, 3 touchdowns, and a 31-25 victory over Atlanta, which didn't look good at first, but they found a way to get the dub. Jonathan Taylor could be, in my opinion, the first running back to win the MVP since Adrian Peterson. It has been a long time since a non-quarterback has won the MVP. It feels like forever ago. On the defensive side of the ball, we go with Darrell Hunter. 7 tackles, 3.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble in the 32-29 victory over the Jacksonville Jaguars. There was a couple other guys that were in the mix. There was a guy that had 4 sacks. I can't even remember who it was now. My mind's drawing a blank, but I thought with the 7 tackles and a forced fumble in there, I'm going to give it to Darrell Hunter because that was a nice comeback victory over the Jaguars. And this is just an AFC South type of week for our kings of the gridiron. Jonathan Taylor on the offensive side and Darrell Hunter on the defensive side. Next, we head to our top 5 MVPs. Taylor still leading the way. Drake May has had an impressive season so far. I got him at 2. New in the game, Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford's having a very impressive season, and I feel bad that I overlooked him and I haven't really because I picked the Rams to go to the Super Bowl, but the last 3 weeks, he's had, I think, over 4 touchdowns 0 picks or either 1 pick. It's a statistic, but it's never been done in NFL history. 3 straight games, and he's cooking. So shout out to Stafford. He could easily be 1, and I would understand it. He could easily be 2, and I would understand it. I got him at 3 this week, but I feel like that's going to come up a little bit more, especially if they get this win this week against Seattle. At number 4, Daniel Jones. I'm still going to give Daniel Jones some love. He's probably more of the comeback player of the year because of how he's been playing, but it is what it is. And then Nick Bonito, I just felt like giving him a nod this week and on that number 1 defense. Put your number 1 defense and the best player on that defense, and I'm just going to give him the nod. And I feel like that might not even be the case next week, but I just wanted to give him some love this week in that Denver defense. So shout out. Next, let's head to the playoffs. If they started today, the number 1 seed in the AFC remains the same, and it's been this way for a couple of weeks now, the Indianapolis Colts. The 2 seed, Denver Broncos right now, would take on the number 7 seed, Jacksonville Jaguars. The 3 seed, New England Patriots, would have a 3rd matchup with the Buffalo Bills, the 6th seed, if the playoffs started today. The number 4 seed, Pittsburgh Steelers, would take on the number 5 seed, San Diego Chargers, a.k.a. the LA Chargers, and which would be a very interesting matchup at the 4-5. Then we swing to the NFC. A lot has changed. A couple of weeks ago, the team that's at number 7 was number 1, but they don't deserve to be there. Number 1, the Philadelphia Eagles currently. The Eagles are good. If answer, but the Eagles are good. A little bit of struggle against Green Bay, but they're the number 1 seed if the playoffs started today. The number 2 seed, Seattle Seahawks, who, if they played the number 7 seed Green Bay Packers, would destroy the Green Bay Packers if the playoffs start today. At number 3, the Detroit Lions would take on the Chicago Bears, the 6th seed. The Chicago Bears at the 6th seed, a very interesting NFC North matchup. These two teams faced off earlier this year, and the Lions put boots to, that's to them. So we'll see. And at the number 4, number 5 matchup, the number 4 seed, Tampa Bay Buccaneers will take on the number 5 seed, LA Chargers. Then we head to your boy record. Look, 90-58. Your boy's having a really good season. Had a couple of funky weeks, but these last few weeks, your boy's 29-12, cooking since week 8. Cooking. 9-4 in week 8, 10-4 week 9, 10-4 in week 10. And I plan on killing them again this week. I hope y'all ready for it, because by the end of this week, your boy's going to be at 100. 100 wins on the season heading into week 12. That's the goal. That's the vision. Let's get it. Then for tonight's game, I got the New England Patriots winning 28-17 over the New York Football Jets. And lastly, my picks for the week, I've got the Patriots, Dolphins. I don't even want to pick them. I should have picked the Giants, but whatever. The Packers, the Ravens, the Bengals, the Jags, the Bills, the Bears, the Titans. Excuse me, not the Titans. The Texans. I always get the Titans and the Texans mixed up. The Texans, the Falcons, the Rams, the Cardinals, the Broncos, Lions, and the Dallas Cowboys. The only 2 teams on bye this week are the Indianapolis Colts, well-deserved rest, and the New Orleans Saints. They need all the rest that they can get. All right, everybody, that is it. Week 11 of the Power Rankings in the book. This has been episode 189. And I'm so glad you guys have been here with me to break this down, to go through everything, just to kind of get a feel for what things have been. And it's just a really good deal to kind of see how everything will unfold. I'm very, very, very excited to see what happens in week 11. Can the Patriots keep their winning ways going? Can the Broncos keep their winning ways going? Can the Colts slip back into number 1 just because the other 2 teams decided to lose? Who knows? There's a lot of things that can go on, but very excited about another week of NFL football. Your boy's going to sit at home this week, have himself an NFL Red Zone Sunday. Very excited about that. Going to sit back and chill, find me something good to eat, and watch some football. And y'all should do the same thing. College football on Saturday should be fun. It's just college basketball is in the mix right now. NBA's going, hockey's going. Just a lot of good stuff going on right now in the world of sports. I'm your man, Darrell Owens. Thank you all for tuning in for episode 189 of 101. We'll be back next week for episode 190 in week 12 of the NFL season. Until next time, you guys be safe and have an amazing weekend.
One, 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 Welcome to the 101. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof.